Can I make one other point too on exceeding the cap? And I meant to do it in the base presentation. We will, because of the loss of state revenue of $1.8 million, I can confidently say that the state would approve exceeding the cap to replace that $1.8 million. That is a grounds for exceeding the cap under state law. Unlike we were led to believe, however, that this year, because it was so extraordinary, that only a simple majority of the council would be required to replace at least the automobile excise tax phase-out. That apparently is not the case, and it does require a supermajority of the council at this point in time to exceed the cap, and a supermajority would be 6 out of the 7 of you. And that is another aspect of the budget bill that we'll have to watch very closely to see if they modify that supermajority provision.
One last question on the contract. And I know you can't speak to the contract, but I watch what's going on throughout the state, and on the union side, the union seems to be, well, I don't be careful to choose my words, but I'm hoping that we'll get the best possible contract out of our local unions. I mean, they're all part of this, but I hear through the grapevine that most of the teachers live out of town. They don't live in our town anymore like it used to be. Is that correct?
You know, I have not run those numbers. I have been told anecdotally that it used to be a much higher percentage of our staff lived in town.
Thank you.
Sure. I got a couple of quick line item questions. Why the 4,100% increase in professional special education?
That's
I can hear you fine. It's whether or not they can hear you on the TV. So
that's a I can get up on this. The increase in special ed, as I mentioned in the presentation, is $190,000, about 5%. What we have here, this is, I'm sure you've heard that we changed our chart of accounts, all the school districts in Rhode Island, to a uniform chart of accounts. So there was some growing pains and some confusion perhaps as to where to charge different items. So if you have your budget book?
I do.
The line items? You'll see that this line 53201 to 53218, which is a whole myriad of OT, PT, speech, went from $12,250 to $515,000 here in the two budgets, which is that gigantic increase. You'll also see a little further down, nursing services, 53417 went from $0 to $74,000. And if you go all the way down to the bottom of the page, you'll see tuitions went down $387,000. So what we had to do, all the money was budgeted in tuitions in the summer, and we've been making transfers all throughout the year to put the money where it belonged. So if you take the $502,750, which is in that top line increase, and the $74,000, and subtract that $387 that we took from tuitions for the reduction, you'll get the $190. So it really is an outgrowth of a new chart of accounts and how the money was distributed last year. It's still a 5%, $190,000 increase, but it's a combination of all those lines. So it's not that one line going up $500,000. This wasn't budgeted.
Okay, but the professional services line item is still going up 46%, or almost $600,000. What is the major increase in that? Regardless of shifting money around in chart of accounts, that's still a huge increase.
Well, I'm
sorry, I'm first page underneath the budgets. If you look in the total expenditures, you have the salaries going up 2.36%, employee benefits up 8.4%, and then the next line item goes up 46.72%, which is close to $600,000.
Wait a second for everybody to get there. I got it. So I got it. I think I got it. Sorry, there's no page in the book. I apologize for that. The top thing says retirement certified is the top line. So what we have, as I mentioned, we moved the money from the total other purchase services line, you see that's that $387,000 decrease in tuitions and the 261 overall up. So as I mentioned, if you take the 502 and you take the 74, you get 576. And you subtract the 387, you get about that 190. Now, the reason professional services shows that huge increase is because it's a $500,000 increase on a $1.2 million number. It's a smaller number, whereas the decrease is on a $4.5 million number. So the percentages won't be the same. It's a percentage is what it is. But that's exactly what it, I mean, you can do the number, you can do the math, and it comes out that
Now
way.
we're looking at, okay, if we shift the number from other purchase services up to professional services, we're still looking at a $300,000 increase, or roughly 23%. So just, I mean, what is building that $300,000 increase? Are we tuitioning out more students with special needs? Are there more IEPs out there?
The increase is $190,000. I mean, it's the 502, which you spotted. It's the 74, and you take out the 387. Those are like a 4% increase in tuitions, an increase in fees to the, in services to the students, like speech and language and OT and PT. The percentages are $500,000 on $1.2 million is going to be 50%, just about.
I'm not worried about the percentages. I'm looking at the expenditure lines. If you just stay away from the whole chart of accounts and everything else, let's just go straight to the expenditures. First page. This one right here. That shows the school budget going up 2.51%. When you look at other purchased services, which is where a lot of those fees are coming from, why do we have under professional services, if you marry those two numbers up, you still have a $300,000 increase? We having that large of an increase in terms of needs of special education students, the cost for special education students, has our regional special education partnership sunk into the ground? Are we losing money on? I'm not trying to hammer you specifically. I just need to know why. I mean, that's still a 23% increase.
It's not. A minute ago, it was the increase wasn't important. It's 100. Our special ed is up 5.3%, and it's on tuitions 4%, in services. During the year, I compared here budget to budget. During the year, you'll see that, and I actually brought my current year expenditures, that we've been spending and transferring money up to the other line. That's why I tried to show it all together. Our total special ed cost is like $3.7 million. And whether that is a good deal or a bad deal, you know, we can talk about. But the increase is $190,000 in all the lines, 5%. We have moved budget numbers from tuitions, which is a different category, it's other purchase services, up to professional services. And it was a large amount of money, so the percentages are going to be skewed because you're going up $500,000 to $1.2 million, and you're only taking away $300,000. You know, and I'm taking all, I don't mean to say I'm taking all 500 from tuition, I'm taking I'm taking part of it from a much smaller number. That's why your percentage is going to look a lot different. But in actual dollars, it's a $190,000 increase in special ed. It's 5+%, and I mean that's what it is. I wish I could make it clearer.
The changes that are driven by moving to the chart of accounts, are there other things that go into those professional services, or is it just in that area called professional special ed services? Maybe that's part of the confusion. It's hard to tell what's in those bigger numbers on the front page when you go back and look at the line items.